Hi everybody, welcome to Getting Started with Balena Video. My name is Ayan and I'm a product builder and developer advocate here at Balena. I've been wanting to do this end-to-end Getting Started with Balena Video. Maybe someone who just discovered Balena want to put a device on Balena dashboard to manage it and to control it, and they have no idea what to do. So I thought this video would be a great addition to our YouTube channel. We already have a lot of videos from IoT Happy Hour building gateways and setting up software for 3D printers, and from IoT Product Clinic talking about all sort of updates and things happening at Balena, working in open, and maybe a lot of people sharing their residency project with that. But I still feel that this video would be a great addition. So in this video, I'll be talking about how you can take a single board computer like this, a Raspberry Pi 4, and load balenaOS on top of it and run some custom application and manage it through Balena dashboard, the balenaCloud dashboard, and also talking about different things, different architectures that you might encounter on the way, and the basic workflow of balenaPush. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get started. As always, feel free to follow along with this video, and if you face any difficulties, do stop by our forums. We have a great set of people there, and community people hang out there. They will be more than willing to help you out. So yeah. What is Balena? Balena is a platform built to develop, deploy, and manage fleets of connected devices at scale. And when we talk about connected devices, we really mean single boot computers capable of running Linux operating systems such as Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone Black, and a lot of different other boards out there. We support a lot of different architectures and boards, mainly ARM32, ARM64, and x86. So you can have devices like Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone Black, IMX8, Intel NUC, and x86 architecture devices. Mainly, we have these three components that are required. The first one is the balenaCloud, which is our web-based control panel, so to say, where you can see your devices, which ones are online, which ones are offline. You can see the things that they're running. You can also maybe reboot or shut down the devices from there, and verify what release they're running, and maybe also update the host operating system or supervisor or different things that you can do. You can also take a terminal access. So if you want to run some commands, you can do that in the browser itself on balenaCloud. The next component we have is balenaOS, which is based on Yocto Linux, the de facto project when it comes to edge development. And this OS is tailored to run on edge IoT devices. It's very minimal and takes very less space on the SSD or SD card, whatever thing you are using to boot. And this runs something called Balena Engine, which is the container runtime. So with Balena, everything, your custom application is going to be running into containers, just like Docker. And similar to Docker Engine, we have Balena Engine, which is highly customized for IoT edge application. This supports something like Delta update. So if you are running a device on, let's say, cellular, you don't have to spend a lot of expensive bandwidth to do a new release, download, and things like that. So these are the basic components. You're going to encounter a lot of different things with the Balena workflow, but these are the three important things that you might want to know of. Talking about the architecture, this is exactly what I said. So over here, you have a Raspberry Pi 4 board, which runs a Balena OS. This is also known as the host OS or the host operating system. This Balena OS comes with Balena Engine, which makes running these containers easily. So these are just like Docker container. You can run a single container with your main application, or you can fragment your application in a multi-container environment like this. And similarly here, so these two devices make up your fleet, and of course, you can have different devices for different architectures and different SoCs there. So you can have a number of devices in your fleet, and you can manage all of them using balenaCloud. So what do we mean by IoT fleet management? So let's say you have an application that you have just tested on Raspberry Pi board and it's running all good. And now you want to go into production. You want to have multiple devices spread out across the world running your application. This is might how your fleet looks of different IoT devices. And the thing is that you want to manage these devices remotely. You want to make sure that these are running latest and greatest software and these are secured. You also might want to do some updates of host operating system from every now and then. Imagine a software vulnerability being discovered in a kernel which is running on a device, and you do not want your device to get compromised. So you have to update them remotely. And you need to see which device is running what and where they are located on the map and things like that. So these all the things that an IoT fleet manager is interested in. And sooner or later, when your fleet scales, you see that the fleet becomes heterogeneous, meaning all sort of devices could be here. This fleet could have different devices from different architecture. Let's say there are ARM32, ARM64, and x86. These fleets have devices like some of them running on Ethernet because Ethernet was available in that area, but some of them are in desert with only cellular connectivity, or some of them are running on Wi-Fi. So when you have to manage all sort of these devices and you want to do everything in house, it becomes a really complex problem to make sure that these devices stay up to date, to manage it, and to see what is the memory consumption of let's say how much RAM is getting consumed in this device, or if you want to reboot this device because it's malbehaving for some reason, or whatever thing that you want to do. If you want to develop everything in house, it becomes a really pain, and that's where Balena comes into this picture. So Balena provides you with all the tools that is required to build your IoT application and scale it and manage it, and of course deploy it to all these devices. So uh, the first component, as I mentioned, we have balenaOS. It is based on Yocto OS, developed for embedded devices and IoT usage. It's very minimal by design. It uses very less RAM, a redundant root file system, and minimize SD card, right? Because we still, a lot of people out there use SD card, and SD card tend to go corrupt. So we made sure that our operating system do minimal SD card writes as possible, so that ensure longevity of these SD cards. The second component, as I mentioned, is Balena Engine. Balena OS comes pre-baked with Balena Engine. This is a runtime that we tailored for embedded and IoT use. It supports delta pulls. So let's say you have 10 containers and only one of them change. It will only pull the delta. So it's very bandwidth friendly, and of course, fault tolerance and all sort of good things. Talking about the Balena workflow, it's very much similar to how a Git workflow is. So you can do a balenaPush from the CLI application that I'm going to show you in a bit. And whatever the code in your current directory is, it looks for a Docker file or a Docker Compose file with the how to build each container instructions, or where to pull which base image and things like that, what files to copy to your device. It packages it and it sends to Balena Builder. And on the cloud, we have our optimized very fast Balena Builder. So it detects what architecture your fleet is, and depending on that, it will build the images and deploy it to your device. And you can access every detail from balenaCloud. You can see the status and things like that. And the devices communicates through to balenaCloud using the VPN. So we have an open VPN installation using which the balenaCloud and the devices talk to each other. So it's really safe, and you can see all sort of data like how much RAM is consuming by the device, your application, how much storage is available on your device, things like that. And you can also access terminal, as I just mentioned. So before proceeding ahead with the slides, let's take a small demo. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this Raspberry Pi device over here. You can see on my overhead camera. And we're gonna host a small application, Hello World application, which is based on Node.js, and it's gonna show a web page to us. It's a great Hello World application, and at the same time, you can access this from anywhere in this world, because Balena VPN also provides something called public device URL. So you can actually give that URL to any of your friend, and they can access the web page hosted by this device right here. So this is a Raspberry Pi 4 computer. So let me show you how you can do that. Before that, you will need a couple of things. The first thing that you will need is balenaCLI. balenaCLI is basically the interface using which your local development machine, your computer, interacts with the Balena cloud. It can see what devices are there, what fleets are there, what is the release that is running, and it can also push the application sitting in your development environment to Balena cloud and Balena builders. So you can download it for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Today I'm using Mac, but it's available for all the major platforms. So you can download it from here. All the links I'm mentioning will be down in the description below, so feel free to check that out. Next, we have balenaEtcher. So once we download the Balena OS from balenaCloud, we need to flash that on the SD card and boot the Raspberry Pi from it. For flashing, you can use balenaEtcher. It's a really great utility. It's really cool. But if you are a user of different flashing utility, feel free to use that. One such alternative for Linux is DD. And the next thing that you want to download is this application. Again, link is in the description. It's called Balena Node Hello World. And this is basically a Node.js application which hosts a web page from the device. And this is what we're going to run on this device today. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to do that. So for that, you visit you have to visit dashboard.balenaCloud.com, and here you will presented with a login page or a sign up page. You can sign up with your email ID, but you can also feel free to sign up, log in with your GitHub or Google account. So today I'm going to use my Google account. And once you do that, you will be presented into this sort of a dashboard where you can see all your different fleets are there. This might look different for you if you already have some fleet, but if you're a new user, there will not be any fleet here. But yes, you're going to create a new one today. So let's click on create fleet and create a new one. I'm going to name it hello hyphen world, because that's a de facto project of whatever we do new in tech. And I have a Raspberry Pi board, but again, you can see how many boards we support. Asus Tinker board, BeagleBone is there. We have generic x86 architectures, NanoPi, and things like that. So a lot of different boards we got you covered there. But I'm going to use Raspberry Pi 4 using 64-bit operating system, and I'm going to do a starter application. First 10 devices on your balenaCloud is absolutely free, so feel free to use that 10 devices. So I'm going to click on the create new fleet, and this is going to create a fleet called Hello World, and this is going to have R64. And currently I have no device on my fleet, but I have to add this device, you can see, on this fleet, and I have to associate with it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click add device, and this is my Raspberry Pi 4 computer. I'm going to select the recommended version of balenaOS, which is 2.98.11 at this point. The next thing you can choose is, do you want a development image or do you want a production image? And this is really cool, because in production image, we actually closed all the doors that are not required. For example, disabled the SSH and maybe some serial consoles and things like that, because you do not want hacker taking advantage of that. But because we are developing today, we are just prototyping, I'm going to use a development environment which is a bit more open and bit more flexible. The next thing that you can do is you can choose that, do you want your device to be connected through Ethernet only or Wi-Fi plus Ethernet. I do not have an Ethernet cable on my table, so I'm going to take advantage of the Wi-Fi at my home, and I'm going to put the Wi-Fi SSID. Make sure you do not make any mistake into that, otherwise it will not connect. So here goes my password. That's a good thing, because this is baked into the image that I'm going to download. And when I'm going to flash that, automatically when the device comes up, it's going to come up with this credential, and it's going to connect to my Wi-Fi router. So you can click flash here, and this will open directly Etcher. But I'm not sure if you're using Etcher. So what we can do is we can download it, and we can use the utility of our choice to flash this image. And it's going to download. And this is the SD card that I'm going to use. So this is the SanDisk Pro Extreme. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open Balena Etcher. I'm going to plug the SD card in to my computer. And I'm going to select the file, but let me first make sure it's down. The download is complete. It's still getting there. My internet speeds are not really cool at this point. I have to talk to my ISP at some point. But once this download is finished, I'm going to flash this to my SD card using Etcher. It's still saying it's going to take 2 minutes, so let's wait that time. But you know what's a good thing about it? We can use that time to create our release. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this GitHub account. Again, link is in the description. I'm going to copy the code to clone, and I'm going to open the terminal. I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to clone it. So I'm going to say git clone and the repository URL, and then I'm going to cd into this. So over here, you can see that here are some files, and the file that is really interesting for this project is docker.template, which I'm going to show you. So this actually shows all the steps. It's basically like a Docker, a normal Docker file. So it says from this is a base image that we're going to use today. It has Node 14, a buster, of course, from Debian. And it has some steps like, hey, take the package.json and put it in this directory on the device. And something regarding NPM. I'm not an NPM developer, but I'm still know how to use that. Again, some copy, some UDEV rules, and finally NPM start. That's going to start the container. So feel free to tweak around this. So this is what we're gonna push to the device. And we're just gonna go back. And now what I wanna do is we have to link our development machine to this balenaCloud dashboard. So the Balena dashboard knows which code to fetch. So what we can do is we can use the balenaCLI, which I recommended you to download in the previous step. So you can verify that it's downloading using, let's say, something called balena help. And yet it's there. So you can see we have all sort of commands like balena-push, balena-SSH, balena-fleets. Feel free to explore that in the free time. But what we're gonna do to link our development machine to the Balena dashboard, we're gonna use something called Balena login. And there are different ways to authentication. We have web credential, we have web authorization, which is the recommended one. It's the most simplest one. We have credentials where you can actually add email address and password. We can have authentication token that you can obtain from balenaCloud. I don't have a Balena account. It will create one for you right from the CLI. It's so cool is that. But we're gonna do web authorization, and what it's gonna do, it's gonna open a new page, as you can see, and it says by clicking authorize, you share your authentication token with balenaCLI in a secure way, and that's what we want. So as soon as I click authorize, it says success, and if I go back to my balenaCLI, I see that it's already been authenticated. So I can verify that using a command called balena fleets. This command gonna what it's gonna do is gonna fetch all the fleets that is available on my dashboard, and it's gonna show me here. So let's just do it, and you can see this is exactly same as here. So here are all the fleets in my dashboard. We have BLE Lighthouse, Hello World, Holiday Star, BLE Lighthouse, Hello World, Holiday Star, Project Car. That's the beauty of it. So it has fetched everything. So now I'm in the directory where my Docker file is located. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna push this code into the Hello World project, because that's what we're gonna do. And how we're gonna do that is gonna use a command called balena-push and name of the fleet, which is hello-world. So what this command gonna do is gonna take all the code in this directory, package it, and it's gonna send to Balena builders. Balena builders are basically our server, which take this code and build it and put that to the devices from Balena dashboard, which I'm gonna show you in a bit. But meanwhile, let's do a Balena-push hello world and see if it's running. So you can say uploading source code, and meanwhile we can go back and verify the balenaOS is almost downloaded. So here you can see it's building the source. This is actually running on Balena builders, and you can see all the logs coming out from it, like from Balena lib. It has already detected Raspberry Pi 4, 64, Node 14 Bashan is a base image. And over here, you can also see that while the builder are building this, on my dashboard, it says that build 110 something is in progress. And that means my dashboard has detected that the Balena builders are building a release for this. And this release will be passed to all the devices that are in this fleet, because that's a by default behavior. But of course, you can change that as well. So we're going to wait for this build to finish. It says successfully uploaded the images. So you see one lucky good chum here, which is called Charlie. And if you see this really amazing unicorn over here, you can confirm that the build has been successful and everything is there. Of course, if there is any error in your Docker file or anything, the build will fail, and then you have to check that what's wrong with your code. But for now, the build is finished, and you can see the release is getting there. And we have a release. So we can actually go to this release panel and see what's the release slug 110C52, and you can verify it. Same here, the same SHA code. I think it's the SHA code here. So yes, that's a release which is available for us. All right, so the balenaOS image has been successfully downloaded. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna open Balena Etcher, and I'm gonna choose that image which I just downloaded from balenaCloud, and that should be over here. If I go to the downloads, I see, yes, balenaCloud Hello World. I'm going to set the target, and this is the SD card which is connected to my PC. I'm going to press flash. I have to enter the password to flash the SD card, but once that is done, you can see that this is decompressing, and then it's going to flash and verify. Okay, this one looks pretty fast. Meanwhile, we can go back and we can see everything is looking good. In the summary, we have a release ready to be deployed to the devices. So once this is flash, I'm gonna put that SD card in my device, and I'm gonna power it up. A good feature about putting the Wi-Fi credentials and the password on the image itself from Balena dashboard is now when my device comes online, it will automatically look for that SSID, and it will connect to it. So my device will show on the dashboard. But if you have Ethernet, use that, because that's a much faster way to get your device connected on the dashboard. All right, so my card has been flashed successfully, and I'm going to close this. I'm going to remove the card, and let me just put this into the bigger picture. Okay, I'm gonna attach the SD card to my Raspberry Pi 4 board, and I'm gonna power it up. So this is all powered up. Now we're gonna wait for it to show into balenaCloud. And coming back to the balenaCloud. Now this is where my device will be available once the device boots up and makes communication with Balena dashboard. Hope that I have set the correct parameters of Wi-Fi. Otherwise, this will not connect. So that's one thing you can debug if a device is not getting connected to the Balena dashboard. But yes, let's wait for a couple of minutes so it shows up. All right, and you can see we have a device which got a very cute name automatically, Delicate Wind. It says online for a few seconds. It has a UUID and it says the development because that's the image that we have chosen. So we're gonna click on this device. And now what you are seeing here is it's downloading the release that we built using the CLI. This release has been sent to the dashboard, and now that dashboard is pushing that release to this device. So once this complete, all the code that was in that release will be visible on this, and this device will actually be able to run a web server that I'm going to show you. So let's give it some time to complete download of this new release. In the meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I have another device over here. It's the new Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 02W, which I'm also going to add to the same fleet. So what we can do, we can go back to the device. We can say add new device. Now this time I'm going to choose a Raspberry Pi 02W board, 64-bit. I'm going to choose the recommended one. I'm going to choose development, Wi-Fi Ethernet, same SSID, same password, making sure no typos. And again, I'm going to download this. And because it's a different board, I have to download a new image. But if you want to add same another board, that is a Raspberry Pi 4, you can use the same previous image to flash. All right, so now we're gonna go to the summary tab, and here you can see that this device is actually fetched and has downloading the new latest release. And once it's up, we're gonna see the dashboard. But meanwhile, we're gonna go back and flash the other SD card that gonna go into the Raspberry Pi 02W board. So I'm gonna click flash again, add the password, and wait for this release to be finished downloading. And here we are waiting for the SD card to be flashed again. I see some logs here saying that the Note server is listening on port 80. That means the application has been downloaded successfully and this device is running the actual Note server. So it's running on port 80. So what I can do is actually I can go to the local IP address, as here you can see on the Balena dashboard. I can copy it and open it in a different tab. And in just a minute, you will see the application server running, which is welcome to Balena. And that means that our device is hosting this directly. And the good thing here is we also have something called a public device URL. So what we can do, I can actually enable my public device URL, and I can actually see this from anywhere in this world, the same server that is running again. So it's really cool. But in the meanwhile, we also have another device added. So this flash has been complete. I'm gonna remove the SD card. I'm gonna enlarge this one for you. So I'm gonna add this here and power it up. And let's hope that this device also comes up. So going back to the balenaCloud dashboard here, I'm gonna go to the devices. And if everything goes well, this Raspberry Pi 02W board also shows up here. And there we are. We have a new board, Creative Summer, the Raspberry Pi 02W. It's in active state at this moment, but it's gonna take some time to come up and establish communication with the Balena VPN and the balenaCloud. So we're gonna give it that time. And as soon as it comes online, because it's by default tracked to the latest release, it's gonna download that, and it's also gonna host the same web page that I just showed you. And it's online for a few seconds. So this is our device, Raspberry Pi 02W. The previous one was Raspberry Pi 4. And again, it's gonna take some time and download the new release, and it will show the same exact page as shown by the different device that we already established, which was welcome to Balena. So yeah, that's how you put devices in your fleet and you scale it. and that's how you manage it. There are a lot of different cool things that you can do from Balena dashboard. Uh, I can name a few. For example, you can add your friends on the same fleet, and they can add devices. So imagine your friend is in US adding a different device. You are in India, and you all can manage the device from the same fleet. Different things. If you have a different fleet, you can move devices in between the fleets, and they're gonna have the new release. So that was a small introduction on the workflow of Balena and getting started. So how do our community members and customers use this platform? So we have a lot of people building gateways, Helium, TTN, LoRa Zigbee based gateways. You can use it for Edge AI. We also support NVIDIA Jetson, OpenVINO, and Edge Impulse, and a lot of different projects are there. You can check out hub.balena.io, and you can see a lot of different projects out there. Some of our customers use it for digital display signages, environment monitoring, robotics, and different things. So how would you use Balena? We would love to know. So do share that in the comments or in forums. As always, if you want to learn more about different things that we have, this is just a tip of the iceberg, but you can always visit Balena blog, Balena forums, and check out different projects at Balena Labs GitHub. All the links are here on your screen and as also on the description. So yeah, that was the getting started with Balena video. I'm hoping to make more such informational content for you and introduce you with the new Balena features. So thank you very much for staying till the very end, and I'm looking forward to see you all on Balena forums and build some cool projects together. So yep, see you soon, and thank you for joining.